What is up, guys? Welcome back. So today we are jumping into our next episode of How to Paint series for Monster Fight Club's Borderlands Mr. Torgue's Arena of Badassery miniatures that we got with our Kickstarter. So we are finally getting into the last character model for the Borderlands 3 models. So we kind of did all the pre-sequel, and then we went to do the Borderlands 3. And I wanted to save Zane for last because Zane is my favorite character to play in Borderlands 3. So here we got Zane, and we also have his STNL drone. So we have the drone too. We're going to do both of these today because the drone is very small, so we can probably knock him out pretty quick. But we wanted to get these kind of ready to go because after this, I am going to work on the Borderlands 1 models, I believe, and then work on 2. 2, see, I love 2 a lot, but then I don't know, I'm going to work simultaneously probably with 1 and 2, because 1 and 2 are like the OG Vault Hunters, so we are definitely going to be going back and forth with which ones we want to do there, because I love Axton, I play Axton in 2, and my favorite character of all time is Roland, so we do have a Roland with his turn. His turn is very minimal compared to Axton's. Axton's turn is like massive. He has the one from Borderlands 2, but of course we have the turret for Roland, which is like little tiny pew pew, you know. But it's cool. I like how they did this. We did get other add-ons for Zane, but they are like digi clones and digi shields, so they're clear blue plastic. We're just gonna leave that the way it is because we don't want to mess up the clear blue of it. So we're going to just use that. I'm not even going to put an earth thing on there because it's just an effect and ability, so I could just throw it on the thing. The drone, I can have that on the board for a long period of time, but the shield, I'm not going to be using that as much in my bunkers and badasses. So we'll just figure it out. I mean, it's going to be used, but it's just not going to be used for a long period of time. So what we're going to do is we are going to go over to our references because I did find a decent amount of stuff for Zane on the Borderlands fandom. We're going to look at our references and we're going to dry brush him, try to get a lighter gray on him to get all the details to pop on him. And then we will also do a little dry brush on the drone as well to get the details popped. And then we'll look at our colors and see what we can work with and go from there. Okay, so when you go onto the Borderlands fandom, you can look up different things on Borderlands, and basically it'll pop up. And most likely it'll give you images. Some don't give you the best images, but some do. And with Zane, they gave me some badass images, so that's great. I don't have to like explore out of here too much, except for the drone, which is kind of easy. You just look up Borderlands 3 Zane drone, or just Zane drone, and it'll pop up pretty easily. So here's Zane. We got a good piece of art here, but what we're really wanting to look at is this. This is like a full body look to him. And you have that, and you have the all around back here, so you kind of get a good idea of how it basically is going to go. These are lighter than I assumed it would be. So we were going to go with a Russian blue for the light spots, but that might not be the way to go. But we could probably do a base coat with that and then go from there. We'll have to see. And here we have more images of him, and it also gives you kind of like a color here. So the highlight, it says light blue. Spider patch would be almost black, so that's probably like a Tenebrow gray. The coat, it's like a dark grayish blue, so like, but on the picture itself it kind of looks brighter, so I don't really know how this lines up with this unless it's talking about the darker parts. And then of course you got the hair, which is like, it's kind of like a bright white, almost white. It's like an off-white. So we're looking at that, and then we have the yellow inside the coat. The yellow in the inside of the coat probably going to be a little bit hard to work with. So what we're going to probably do is work our way out like we have been doing recently, because it'll just make it easier so we don't mess it up when we're trying to paint everything else and then have to hit the inside of something. So that's probably what we're going to do. Oh, look, this is his drone right here, so I don't even have to leave. The drone is right here in the same Zane files. So you got that, and it looks like a higher view too. Yep. So an up-down view on the drone as well. So that's looking pretty damn good. I'm glad we have all this in one go. So we are going to reference this photo, and we're going to go through our colors because I have a gray blue that might actually go with that. So we'll have to see. This gray blue actually looks more or less like what it's looking like there. And maybe I can use a Tenebrae gray for the darker spots. I think that's what we're going to have to do. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the skin and we're going to just put our first base coat, which is a brown rose. We're going to put the brown rose as our base coat, and it's pretty simple here. He only has his face, which does have a mustache and a beard, and his ears, which is separated with his hair, so the hair connects to the beard. So we got to do that separately. And then we have the fingertips, because he is technically wearing some beefy gloves. So we're only doing that as skin. So it should be a simple thing when it comes to skin. So we're going to get the skin done. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to move over to Tenebrae gray and try to work with the neck. Because his neck is not skin tone at all. It is straight Tenebrae gray. And then it is his shoulder pads. They're pretty dark as well. I might actually do a little bit of a mix again. Maybe a Tenebrae gray and a basalt gray. That way I can highlight it a little bit easier. Tenebrae gray is kind of dark, almost black, but not black. So we'll see what we work with here. We do have some here, so maybe I can actually just see how it works. Okay, so now with the skin already on there, we're going to use our 50-50 mix of Tenebrae gray and basalt gray. And we are going to do the neck area, some of the shoulder pads. There is a piece on this side that is like a leather brown, so we will hit that up with a leather brown. But there is still some darker armor there. We have to get his neck, the two arms, two shoulders, and let me zoom out. We have the glove areas. These are dark. There is a piece of his belt that is a little dark, but his main belt is leather brown. His boots are also that same dark color, but we do have little pieces in the boots that are it's kind of like a different colors. So you have a light blue, and then there's a yellow in there too. So I think these parts right here are light blue, and then yellows down here. So just always reference your pictures. Your pictures will definitely guide you in the right direction when you're trying to paint your miniatures. So especially if it's something that you're trying to, like a character that you're trying to paint exactly where they look in a game or movie or whatever. So yeah, we're gonna hit all these spots up, especially the spider on the back. You want to get that too. Yeah, so we want to hit all these spots up and then see where we're sitting at. Okay, so what I think we're going to do now is I think we are going to start working on the gray blue. And the reason behind that is that, yes, I do have to get inside of here with the yellow for the jacket and stuff like that. But I think that knocking out that blue will really kind of depict all the other spots for me. Because we do have to do some leather brown for some belts and stuff. And we have to do the yellow still. And we have some bright blue pieces to also put in here. There's a lot of little things that are on him. So we just have to go through and just kind of depict the different things. So let's knock out the blue, because we did do the spider on the back. And we do have to get some blue in between the legs there. I'll have to retouch it back up with some Tenebrae basalt mix. So let's get into it. Alright, so with the blue on here, Now we can go ahead and do the yellows. We're going to do the yellows on the inside of the jacket and down here on the boots. And there's a line on the back here. Okay, the yellow is now on there, also on his back as well. Now, I also forgot to tell you guys, I did use a silver gray for his hair, just to kind of make it pop, because we are going to have to shade it later. And we are now going to work on the browns. So we're going to use a leather brown and hit up all of his pouches and belts and stuff. Alright guys, so now we have some spots that we want to hit with a warm gray. So the warm gray will be like on his t-shirt, the belt buckle, and like clips and stuff, along with his knee pad and the back of the leg right there, them pads right there, and thinking underneath the jacket as well. That might be a warm gray as well. So we're going to do that. The reason why I'm going to use warm gray is because the Gravelord gray that we glaze over it dyes down the color, so it'll make it probably the perfect color for what we're doing here. So let's move on to warm gray. Alright, so now we're ready to use our glazes. So we're going to use a leather brown glaze. We're going to use Gravelord gray for some spots. Leather brown basically on the leather spots. Gravelord gray at everything else but the skin. So we avoid the skin and the hair because we might use a white glaze. We'll see how that works. Okay, so we did our glazes. We did highlights. So how I did the highlights is what I typically do is I shade it with a speed paint or glaze it with a speed paint, and then I go back with the respective colors. So once you put the color down, it dyes that color down. You can then use the same color to highlight that area, unless you want a lighter highlight, which would be like a red. You can use like a burnt red and then go over with a matte red and try to like blend it, and it'll be a really bright highlight. But here what we did is we use the respective colors, and then I added the bright blue to the different aspects. So like the glove, the pieces of his pants here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but you got that, and then the shoulder piece right there, and his knee pads. His knee pads have the bright blue in there too. So he's basically done, but what we're going to do, instead of jumping right to basing him, we are now going to work on his drone STNL, and then once that's done, we will then go to putting a Rhinox hide on both bases, and then highlighting that, and then putting some flock on there. So let's move over to the STNL now. With his drone, he has darker gray here, lighter gray in between. So this will be dark, that'll be dark, light, light. Underneath is the same aspect, but these are kind of like see-through orange, so we're gonna have to give it that, we're gonna have to read it that way. So we're gonna use some oranges and yellows to kind of give it that look. So we're gonna start with the, I guess, the darker gray. Alright, so now that that's on, we're going to follow up with a warm gray. So we did use a basalt gray for this, and then we're going to use warm gray. Of course, the Gravelord gray glaze will dye this down a lot, so that's what we're looking for. Okay, now with that said, we're going to use our Gravelord gray to dye that down. But we're also going to use a black speed paint, then a Gravelord gray, and then a white, and try to blend that up to make it look like smoke or something. The way they did this is kind of looks like it could be smoke or something. I mean, it could be air, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. Alright, so smoke is okay. I'm not really too fond of it. It did leak a lot into the ground, but we wet blended some orange and yellow to kind of give it that look. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some Rhinox hide on the ground here and also on Zane, and then they'll be ready to be completely based. Paint the black rim around the rim. I paint that black, and then I put the names, so that one will say Zane and this one will say STNL. And with that, our Zane and our STNL drone are done. Alright guys, so if today's video on painting Zane and his drone, STNL drone, helped you out in any way, be sure to leave this video a huge like, subscribe if you haven't already as well, because that does help our channel out a lot. Also, if you know anybody that are painting these miniatures and need a little bit of help or a push in that direction to paint their miniatures, be sure to share this video with them. The only way to get this stuff done is to pick up a brush and paint. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid that if you're going to start painting and it's going to look like shit. It's okay. We all have to start somewhere. So I'm saying, like, when I first started painting these models, they were not good. Like, I mean, they were okay, but they weren't like great. They weren't at the potential that I could have it. And the thing is I'm a very artsy person. So when I did start out models, they weren't awful, but they weren't the best. And that's only because of my artistic background. Now, being someone that doesn't draw or anything like that, you don't know yet if you are really good at painting because you haven't tried it yet. So I would say, if you haven't tried it, pick it up and give it a try, because it might be a hidden talent that you actually have. The worst thing to do is to not do anything at all. So the best thing to do is to try. Just try. And eventually, with practice and time, you'll end up being a pretty good painter. Hopefully this video did help you in the right direction if you want to paint your Zane or your STNL the way that you kind of have the original outfit. I don't really wear that outfit on Zane. He's my main character, but I use the Psycho outfit because it's just badass. But since he doesn't have like the mask or anything, I painted him up like the normal Zane, and I think it looks perfect. I love the way he ended up, and I'm proud of this. I'm like, look at that. That's a dope Zane right there. I'm really happy with the way these models are turning out. So remember to leave this video a huge like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye.